Penguin Random House Audio presents The Children by David Halberstam. Read for you by Bahni Turpin. Book 1. The Children. Prologue. Years later, though she could recall almost every physical detail of what it had been like to sit there in that course on English literature, Diane Nash could remember nothing of what Professor Robert Hayden had said. What she remembered instead was her fear. A large clock on the wall had clicked slowly and loudly. Each minute which was subtracted put her nearer to harm's way. What she remembered about the class, in the end, was her inability to concentrate, and the fact that both her hands were soaked with sweat by the end of the class and left the clear handprint of her fear on the wooden desk. It was always the last class that she attended on the days that she and her colleagues assembled before they went downtown and challenged the age-old segregation laws at the lunch counters in Nashville's downtown shopping center. No matter how much she steeled herself, no matter how much she believed in what they were doing, the anticipatory fear never left her. It had been at its height the night before the first sit-in, on February 13th, 1960. On that evening, she had sat alone in her room at Fisk University. Suddenly, she was hit with an overpowering attack of nerves. What had she gotten herself into? She wondered. She was supposed to march that next day into downtown Nashville and challenge the existing white power structure. She, Diane Nash, a coward of the first order in her own mind, a person absolutely afraid not just of violence, but of going to jail, was going to join a small group of black children and ministers and take on the most important and resourceful people in a big, very white, very southern city. She and her friends, who had nothing and were nothing, were going to go up against white businessmen who were rich and powerful and connected to the white politicians who were their pals and who agreed with them on everything. What had all of them been thinking in Jim Lawson's workshops on nonviolence? These men would have nothing but scorn for a bunch of black children venturing into their territory. These were white men in their 40s and 50s and 60s. They owned the police force of the city, and they owned the judges who sat in the city's courts. And she, Diane Nash of Chicago, could not make a phone call to a single powerful person in all of America if her life depended on it, which indeed it might. She was now all of 21, and she was in way over her head. Somehow she had been caught in the camaraderie and had begun to surface as someone outspoken and confident. The others, she knew, had already started to look up to her as a leader, but they had no idea how scared she was. It was a joke, she thought. It will never happen. We are a bunch of children. We're nice children, bright and idealistic, but we are children. And we are weak. We have no police force, no judges, no cops, no money. Jim Lawson is a fine man and a good leader, she thought, but this is nothing but a dream. She could almost see those powerful white men, like the white men she had seen in movies, who sat around and knew how to make decisions, hearing the news that a small group of black students were insisting on being served at the lunch counters at downtown stores and laughing at them. She felt pure terror in her heart at that moment. And if there had been any way she could disappear from the movement without causing great shame to herself and letting down these others, she would have done it. If there was anything besides the cause itself which kept her from bailing out, it was the growing loyalty she now felt to the others in this small and, she hoped, hardy group of young students who had become not merely her colleagues, but now her friends. They had started out quite
Sample complete. Ready to continue?